Good job. If your dog breaks, just reset them and go back to the end of your leash. If they stay at their side when you return. And those of you who have returned successfully, exercise finished. Good. So you want to make sure you don't make the mistake of immediately releasing your dog when you return to your dog from the stay, because sometimes you don't really want to release them, right? So there are times in the store where I may tell my dog to stay, I may step toward a shelf and step back, and the last thing I want them to do is think that because I returned, they're released. So just like we don't want the leash coming off to mean you're free to do as you please, we don't want our return to the dog to become our release of the dog. Does that make sense? So be careful in all of your training that you are not building into your training these assumptions that will then turn around and be problems you have to correct later on. So it's always good to wait a varying amount of time when you return to your dog. Sometimes you release them after 1 second, sometimes you don't release them until 15 seconds later. Do I actually count? I actually do. So when I open that crate door for Legend, I start counting. And I try to remember what I counted to the last time, and I try to pick a different number because I don't want him to think, I open that crate door, I step back a certain number of feet, and that's when I'm going to invite him. So you've got to keep switching things up time-wise so your dog doesn't make these assumptions, and assumptions are what get dogs killed sometimes, right? So we don't want that to happen. We don't want the car door opening. We don't want our dog to think that if they're holding a sit and they're looking at us when the car door opens, they're automatically invited out. That's a mistake we can make. So yes, initially when you're trying to get the dog to understand what the behavior is, yes, you need to invite them the minute they sit and look at you. But once you know that they know the criteria, you better start to tack some varying amounts of time on that, or you get a dog that just assumes that if they're sitting and looking at you, they can come out of the car. Does that make sense, guys? So those are just, again, I just trying to give you that bigger perspective that I have just because it's my day job. So I have to think about these things, and I've made a lot of mistakes. All of these tips that I'm giving you are the result of mistakes that I've made. And I'm just trying to keep you from making the same ones. Okay, you've worked really hard tonight. I'm really proud of all of you. Do any of you have any questions before we say so long, farewell, I'll see you soon? Anybody? Yes. So when you do the stationary heel, and I can try to do a video of that with Legend. I'll try to do a video of us introducing it to him. But when you do it, you want to take the dog out away from your body and bring their nose in toward your leg and then stop them in heel position to get the sit. So when you're luring away from your body and bringing the dog to circle toward you. And then when their shoulders are where they're supposed to be, you lift your hand to get the sit, right? So lifting for the sit is something that not everybody knows how to do, but that's how I get the sit so easily. Yeah. He might be tired though. I mean, I think Buddy's saying, you know what? I put my quota in for the day. So, yeah, but we'll try to do a stationary heel video with Legends. And we'll try to do, well, what we will do, we won't try.
Yeah, we'll do it.
We'll do the introduction of it so that you can see what it looks like when a dog has never ever done it before. Now, he is good at following the lure hand. So one of the things you can do, if your dog is not used to following the lure hand, is do a fun activity where you run away from them like this, kind of sideways, and the minute their nose touches your hand, you say yes and release the food, and then you do it this way, yes, and release the food, and you just do that back and forth until they learn that the goal is to get to the hand. So it's kind of like a chase game, and the split second their nose touches your hand, you say your marker word and release the food. Even Sandy would enjoy that game, Rose. If you can get a dog to follow a lure hand, you can get them to do a lot of things that you otherwise can't. So that